I keep telling myself I'm doing it for children. So
these two mothers are getting ready to take a stand inside their former house of worship.
okay, there we go. Ready, Alice?
Yeah. It made my kids physically sick. My three youngest, they would get sick from going to church.
This is the moment, posted last month on YouTube.
Your children are not safe.
Alice and Kelly trying to share their stories about the sexual abuse of their children with people they worshipped alongside for years.
This is my job to warn you.
It's a warning some congregants don't seem to want to hear.
I think this is not the place to talk about it. I'd be happy to talk to you after. I think this is a testimony.
I believe in my Christ, too. That is assault. That is assault.
Get the phone back. Do not touch that, please.
Alice and Kelly are part of a group of mothers on a crusade to shine a light on the impact of a serial predator, Michael Jensen.
I said, has anybody ever touched you in your private parts? And she said, yes. I said, who? And she said, Michael Jensen. And I said, okay, I thank you for telling me. And we left her alone after that.
21-year-old Jensen was eventually convicted of molesting children while babysitting for another mother, Spring's 3- and 4-year-old boys.
He hurt my children in a way that could never be changed. He took their innocence.
The mothers say it was the way Michael became their babysitter that ultimately shattered their faith in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormon Church, which they once held sacred.
I am the third generation. My kids would be a fourth generation members of the church.
I have children who have nightmares every night and want to sleep in my room to feel safe.
So the moms decided to sue the church, local church officials, and the abuser's family, alleging that they had failed to warn or protect them from a sexual predator. The church says Michael's actions were horrific and insists that as soon as officials learned of the abuse, they encouraged the parents to report it to police.
What has this done to your faith in the church?
It's not taken faith from me as far as my faith in God, but definitely in this organization.
In 2005, the Jensen family moved away from the church's home state of Utah, eventually settling in the local Martinsburg, West Virginia LDS community, known as a ward.
Within each ward, you have a bishop. There's very much an expectation that the bishop is acting under the inspiration of God.
He officiates the meetings, and he is the one that you would go to if you had any concerns or problems in your personal life or in your church callings.
She's given her life to her children, and she's certainly given her life to me.
The families we spoke to say the Jensens quickly made a name for themselves.
How would you characterize just how influential the Jensen family is within the Mormon Church?
Very influential. And they presented themselves that way also.
Michael's father volunteered as a high priest. Michael's mother, Sandra Lee, was president of the Relief Society, one of the highest female positions in the ward. It provides support for local families.
Many bishops would consult with their Relief Society president when making decisions on behalf of the ward or their congregation.
Springs says in 2007, her marriage was in trouble.
So I had gone to the bishop. He asked if he could share my information with Sandra Lee, and I agreed to that. She approached me and said, you know, if you ever need to get away or you guys want to go out on a date night, she said Michael's available to babysit.
But Springs says there was something about Michael Sandra Lee didn't tell her. In 2004, while living in Utah, Michael was arrested for allegedly groping 2 girls under 14. He ultimately admitted to 2 reduced counts of misdemeanor lewdness with children. He was placed on probation and ordered by the court to attend sexual appropriateness class.
Did you have any idea that he had prior allegations of sexual assault?
I had no idea. I trusted Sandra Lee. I trusted her judgment.
Based on that, in November of 2007, Springs says she asked Michael to babysit. When she returned home that night, her sons and the babysitter seemed fine.
He made the comment of, your boys are really cool.
What Spring didn't know was that something horrific had happened that night. But like so many victims of sexual abuse, it took years for them to come forward. And in that time, Michael kept babysitting children of the ward, including, in 2008, Helen's 2 sons.
Sandra Lee told me that she had heard I was looking for a babysitter and that Michael Jensen, her son, would be available to do it.
Helen says Sandra Lee and Michael watched her boys multiple times until...
I was going to put my son on the bus. He asked if he was going to Michael's house today, and I said yes. And he just was crying. He doesn't want to go over there. Michael's mean. And I just said to him, I said, how is he mean? And he goes, Mommy, he makes me suck his privates. And it was just that, what did you just say to me?
Helen says she confronted Sandra Lee.
I told her what my son said. And she just sort of looks at me. She's not surprised. She's not in denial. There's just sort of stoic. And she says, I'll talk to Michael about it and get back to you.
In court testimony, Sandra Lee says Helen complained about Michael's babysitting and mentioned sex abuse, but nothing specific. She says Michael told her the boys merely walked in on him going to the bathroom. Helen testified that she and her husband met with Bishop Don Fischel.
I told him what he had said about Michael Jensen, what he made him do.
She also testified that when she followed up later with the bishop, he told her nothing like that happened.
He thinks that my son walked in on a video that Michael was watching and that he was counseling Michael on pornography. And he says to me, Michael Jensen is a good kid from a good family.
Bishop Fischel testified that he never had any of those conversations with Helen. Instead, in a statement to ABC News, Fischel said Helen's husband came to him alone to say his sons were acting strange after Jensen babysat them. Fischel says there was no mention of physical or sexual abuse. But in court testimony, Helen's now ex-husband corroborated her account that they both met with Bishop Fischel and that they did tell him of their children's claims of sexual assault. Bishop Fischel would testify that Michael told him the children had walked in on him as he watched pornography. Fischel said that he did not go to authorities in 2008 because he didn't believe there had been any abuse, and added he'd been fooled by Michael, as we now know what really happened.
My son's word against Michael Jensen's word, and not even my bishop, my Relief Society president, none of these people are supporting me. The only thing that I could think of for my son was, I don't want to go to the police because I have to put him through this questioning.
The very next year, it was Sandra Lee who was reporting her own son's behavior to another bishop, writing in an email that she was really concerned about Michael and asking him to find someone who could take him in because, quote, we cannot risk our other children.
She intimated that she was worried about her other children.
Absolutely.
Sandra Lee would say in testimony that the risk she was referring to was Michael's bad attitude and behavior, making him a poor role model. The following year, his mother and father would both later testify they kicked Michael out of their home after his 12-year-old sister accused him of lying on top of her and kissing her.
You know, as any mother would, she wanted to protect her children, but she didn't protect the other children of the ward.
Meanwhile, Michael continued living with other ward families, continuing to advance normally in the church, ordained as an elder, and selected for a mission. But in January 2012, Spring's sons finally revealed to her what Michael had done to them years earlier.
My son said, I don't ever want Michael to babysit for us again. I said, of course not. Can you tell me why you don't want him to babysit for you again? And he disclosed the details of what Michael had forced him and his brother to do that night. It was completely devastating and just so gut-wrenching because no mother wants something like that to happen to their children.
When we come back, a mother's quest for the truth and the trial that would rock the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Stay with us.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.